More than 150,000 people in the UK have offered rooms to refugees, but today Parliament is again debating the Nationality and Borders Bill. The government describes the bill as a firm but fair immigration and asylums plan. In the Lords, several amendments were made to the bill to take out some of the more contentious elements, and it is expected that some Conservative MPs will rebel today to vote for the amendments. Campaigners are also backing the amendments, including the actor Juliet Stevenson, who has joined a campaign called Together with Refugees, and she joins us now. Good morning to you. Hi there, Juliet. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you now. Great stuff.
Good.
What amendments particularly are you supporting? What do you think needs to change in Parliament today?
Well, the amendments that we're campaigning for MPs to support, firstly, is for the UK to commit to resettle 10,000 refugees arriving via safe schemes that are managed by the United Nations from around the world. It's not a big number compared to for example, the million that Poland has recently taken from Ukraine. And in fact, that figure of 10,000 breaks down to about 15 people per parliamentary constituency. So it sounds quite a big figure, but when you spread it across the country, it's quite small. So that's the first amendment we're asking MPs to support. And then the second one really is this very, very cruel thing about asylum seekers who arrive any other way than through government resettlement schemes. In other words, people who arrive at airports, on boats, any other way are not going to be allowed access to their rights. So no financial support, very limited rights to family reunion and less protection. And in particular, this sort of very cruel idea of Priti Patel's to export people to a sort of prison-like offshore facility while they're waiting for their asylum claims.
Do you understand the thinking, at least, to try and limit people trafficking? I mean, you might disagree with the mechanism that you're talking about there, but is there some necessary step to be taken to say, if we reinforce proper methods of accepting refugees, one of the consequences of that will also be to try and stop these ones that actually endanger the refugees in terms of crossing the channel, for example?
Of course. I mean, of course I was in Calais during that time, and of course the people trafficking, but the way to deal with people trafficking is to create safe routes. At the moment there are very, very few of those available. So of course people resort to any measure they can when they're trying to evade bombs and war and persecution. So we have to create the safe routes. But at the moment, this idea that also in the bill that encouraging people to apply for asylum in their countries of origin. I mean, if you've got a bomb falling on your town, you're not going to it's not very likely you're going to be able to get to some embassy and apply for asylum, which can take months, if not years, while you wait for that, bureaucracy to go through. It's just not realistic. It's not how life is. It's a sort of theory.
Juliet, you've had direct experience of helping refugees. A lot of people say, you've heard this, or what have you ever done? And I know you have done. You've bought a bus to help people in Calais. I think you've even had a refugee in your own home, haven't you? What was that like? What's your direct experience of helping people?
Well, I have right now got a family of Ukrainian refugees living with us. Yeah, they arrived on Saturday.
And tell us about them. How's that been? How's it been opening your home to them?
Well, I mean, it just seemed a pretty obvious thing to do. Well, we're very lucky to have a house with two spare bedrooms. Our kids are at university, so they're the kids' bedrooms. And I just thought, well, why would we not? I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer. We can manage it, so why would we not, really? And we have a lovely mum and her 6-year-old little girl, and then a young guy, and it's amazing. It makes me feel, every time they check their phones, they're checking their phones to see if their relations are still alive. I'm checking my phone to see if I've got a new email from someone. She's checking to see whether her husband is still alive. He's fighting in Kiev. So it's a real reality check to be with them. And I feel I'm learning a lot, and they're really lovely, lovely people. And they just long to go back. To be honest, they just long to be back home. Nobody wants to stay longer than they have to. But, they've got her mum and dad and her parents-in-law are both living in very dangerous parts of Kiev. And but, most people in Ukraine don't want to leave. 3 million have left, but there's another sort of 45 million or something who haven't. So, it's an eye-opener having them here, I have to say.
Well, it's a great thing you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us this morning, Juliet.